So there are countless videos out there outlining what you absolutely need in order to get started with photography. And honestly, it can get a little bit overwhelming. Trust me, I've been there. I'm still kind of there. And after many years of poor purchasing decisions, I'm here to let you know that you really do not need all of that much gear to get started as a photographer, aside from a camera, a lens, and a little bit of touch of creativity. However, if you are looking for things that will make your photography life and the creative process a little bit more convenient, or even open you up to some more creative options, I have a few gear recommendations that I think will help you out. To provide some context, these are accessories that I actually bought, I actually own, and I actually use on a day-to-day basis. So everything I'm going to be outlining is based on my experience with them throughout these past few months and even these past few years. Like I mentioned before, I made a lot of expensive and poor purchasing decisions in the past. So with this video, I'm hoping to help save you some money, stray you away from some unnecessary gear, provide a little bit of context, and hopefully even open you up to other creative processes that you didn't even think of. So without further ado, the first item that I think every photographer needs, aside from a camera and a lens of course, is a good tripod. Over the years, I've wasted so much money on cheap tripods that are probably in some type of landfill right now, and I've also paid my fair share of interest on expensive tripods that barely ever made it to my car. I'll admit this was because I was just too cheap in the beginning to buy a good one that was decently priced. When I finally worked up the courage to buy an expensive one, I realized that it was just way too big, way too heavy, and just not practical as an everyday carry solo shooter. If I were to do it all again, I would honestly just spend the money on a decent carbon fiber ball head tripod that isn't too big to fit in my backpack, not too heavy to carry around, and easily extends and retracts without a problem. I didn't need the monopod features, the low angle shooting, the video shooting capabilities, the video arm, and all of this upselling that these manufacturers use to get you hooked in. Currently, the tripod I use that I've been waving around here is basically my everyday carry, and it's the carbon fiber tripod from ArtSize. They aren't a famous brand by any means whatsoever, at least not that I'm aware of, but this tripod does everything that I just listed above, and it really doesn't break the bank. It's carbon fiber, so it's lightweight enough to carry around, but it's firm enough to withstand some heavy use. The legs are adjusted simply by twisting these knobs, so basically you can quickly extend, retract, and tighten each leg with very minimal effort. The ball head itself is also very solid for both vertical and horizontal shooting, and it can be removed and changed out for another one if you just don't like it or you want to attach it to something else. If you want to get real crazy with it, you can literally pull the legs out to get real low to the ground, or just flip the ball head in reverse and use the head extension to get those really low to the ground shots. One of the legs can be used as a monopod, but honestly, it's just so lightweight that I wouldn't trust it with anything smaller than maybe one of those little small action cameras. Again, this tripod and others like this aren't really all that fancy, but they are reliable, they get the job done, which is most important. Now, the second thing that I recommend every photographer have is some type of portable strobe, aka a flash, because it definitely levels up your photos. There's this saying that there's life before flash and after flash, and honestly, I couldn't see myself going back unless I became a street photographer, but even then I'd be letting off these flashes of light left and right because they just make everything look so much better. Now, I know everyone likes to talk about the au naturel look, but honestly, if you play around with these strobes and learn how it can help you bump up your highlights, add some contrast, and do all sorts of crazy wacky stuff, the creativity itself becomes endless. Right now, I think it has become a trend again for people to use these old school head-on flashes, which I'm personally not a fan of, but I get it. It's fun, it's different. If it makes you and your people happy, by all means, just continue to keep doing so. Screw all the haters. When picking out all these types of strobes, I recommend sticking to one specific brand because it'll make your life easier when it comes to managing the ecosystem and the ease of use. In my case, as you can see, I've been a long-time user of Godox products, so my everyday carry and even my entire studio is made up of all their strobes. All of my receivers, the flashes, and the settings can be synced across the board. You don't have to buy Godox, as there are a trillion brands out there, but I'm personally recommending them after over a decade of long-term use, and these strobes are are still alive and in my studio, and they even make it to my backpack occasionally. With that being said, if you're looking for a budget strobe, I recommend this Godox IT30 if you want that head-on trending flash look, or the TT150 if you're looking to be a bit more versatile with moving the strobe head around. While these aren't the most powerful strobes, they give you enough light in small spaces and even large rooms if you aim and learn how to bounce them off reflective surfaces that are available to your shooting, especially when you're trying to light up your subject. If you're willing to spend a little bit more money, the Godox V1 in my opinion is the best bang for your buck and the best on-camera flash that you could possibly own because it puts out so much light. It's flexible, so the options are just endless. The best part about all these little strobes that I'm waving around are that they can all be linked up into groups and used as receivers to communicate with one another, basically meaning you can use them all together. Now, if you want to go complete overkill, get yourself something like this 8200, which puts out enough power to light up an entire group of people. It can be used for outdoor work and especially even indoor with studio work. This brings me to my next recommendation, light stands. If you could buy just one light stand, get yourself a C-stand with the boom arm, as this will be all you ever need to hold up lights, get some top-down shots, mount a trillion things, and offer reliability. You will never walk into a photography workspace or a video studio or any type of studio and not see a C-stand. A C-stand is one of the most useful accessories you will ever own, and if you buy a good one, it's gonna probably last you a lifetime. The ones I own are budget friendly, and they've survived over a decade of wind, rain, snow, trees, leaves, and just pure New England weather, and somehow it's still being used even in my studio. If I were to go into all the details that you can do with the C-stand, we'd be here all day, so I'll just leave it at this. Get yourself at least one solid C-stand, and I promise you it's gonna pay itself off both financially and creatively. For those of you looking for a lightweight option, I recommend getting something similar to what I mentioned about selecting the right tripod. Get something solid, lightweight, and packable so it's easy to carry around but reliable enough to be put to work. In my case, I've been using this newer carbon fiber light stand with these reversible legs because it folds up nicely, holds up whatever I hook up to it, and honestly, it isn't heavy enough to lug around. Now, let's say you aren't looking to lug around light stands and strobes and you just want to stay minimal with your camera and your lens. Well, I recommend having a decent camera strap that won't shake the skin and feels good to wear. In my kit, I've been using the Peak Design slide camera strap for years now, and honestly, I love this thing because it's just so easy to adjust the length of it, and even after years of usage, there's not a single spot that's faded or a single tear on the strap. The only drawback is you'll have to use their anchor lengths for the straps to have something to latch onto, but honestly, these things are really solid. Just like the strap, these anchors have yet to rip or break even after years of extensive usage. I have them on all of my cameras just for when I want to bring them out and quickly attach the strap to it. If you don't want to get into the Peak Design ecosystem, there's plenty of options from Newer, PGY Tech, and other brands out there on the web that I've heard great things about. Now, last but not least, I think every single photographer needs spare batteries and extra memory cards purely as a safety net. The worst thing that could happen is when you're out on a shoot is your camera runs out of juice or your memory card is full, so keep extras on you all the time. They do not eat up a lot of space, so it's better to be safe than sorry, because the whole point of getting into photography and taking photos is to catch all those small little moments of special time that aren't hindered by the lack of batteries and full memory cards. Personally, I use Sony full frame cameras, so the only batteries that I can personally recommend are their native NPFZ100Z series batteries, or the Wasabi brand as a more budget-friendly third-party option that has just about as much juice as the native batteries at a fraction of the cost. For the memory cards, there are endless amounts of options to choose from, but regardless of what camera system you decide to go onto or that you're currently on, I always recommend getting the fastest cards or close to fast enough cards that your cameras can read and write to. There's a whole classification system of the speeds that these SD cards can fully operate on, which you can quickly Google. But to make a long story short, the higher the number, the better the performance. Personally, I use these V60 UHS-2 SD cards from Sabrent and PNY because they're fast, they're budget friendly, they've been reliable, and they're great, especially if you're only focusing on photography. If you're looking to shoot a burst of images, you might want to level up to some V90 cards, as anything lower might not write the images fast enough to your cards to move on to the next picture that you're going to take. sake, in my case, Sony cameras use CF Express Type A cards, which are the fastest cards in their ecosystem. Basically, these cards allow me to take bursts of images so that I don't miss a single frame, and I keep as much as I can in focus, and my camera is able to basically save and write the images onto the card fast enough to move onto the next image without any type of delay. This is especially essential in run and gun shootings like weddings, special events, and those you only get to do this once type of moments. In my kit, I use the CF Express type cards from Next Storage and Per Gear because they offer the most amount of speed and space for a reasonable price, because let's be honest, those first party Sony cards are extremely ridiculously priced. Now, I do know that this was a lot, but instead of just dropping a video on your lap full of products and gear that you just potentially will never use, I wanted to provide some more context on how the gear here that I've mentioned throughout this entire video has actually helped me throughout these past few years in real-time use case and wear and tear scenarios. If you did make it this far, I really do hope that you found something helpful, and I hope this information was useful, and I really hope that it helped open up your brain to just more possibilities in shooting situations outside of just clicking and shooting with your camera and your lens. If you're still here, I really do thank you for sticking it through with me, and if you're interested in any of these products or any of this gear, the links to them are down below, and they do help support this channel because, you know, I gotta pay bills as well. With that being said, don't forget to hit like, don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more content like this, and do let me know down in the comments down below what you found useful, what your experience has been like, what gear you find very helpful, what gear you don't find helpful, anything that I may have missed, and let me know what you'd like to know more about. So next time, it's been fun as usual, and I'm off. Peace, yo. So, whoops.